do make fruit meads, I put a lot of fruit in them. They're definitely fruit bombs. A lot of my meads are up near 7 to 10 pounds per gallon of fruit. I just made a strawberry rhubarb mead with, I was just telling a friend, between primary and secondary, because I hit it with more strawberries in secondary. For a 10-gallon batch, I put 220 pounds of strawberries in.
Good Lord. All right. And rhubarb too? Oh, please. Who do I have to kill to get a bottle of that?
Yeah, that's one of those meats that'll never leave my house.
Aw, come on. I have to come all the way to Arizona to get that? Dude, really?
It might be worth the trip.
I can't breathe. Seriously.
But it'll still be worth the trip.
And I got things that I put into comps, and that one will probably never see a comp.
Yeah. I'm a strawberry rhubarb is one of my favorite flavor combinations. I've got 3 jars of strawberry rhubarb pie filling, Amish pie filling that I got for my daughter's wedding that is going to go into a mead. And then I'm going to give that to my daughter and her husband. But
and that's another great way to test flavor profiles. I make a lot of jam and preserves too as well. And a lot of times when I'm canning stuff and when I'm making jams, I'm like, hey, you know what? That'll make a great mead. I was making a pineapple and cranberry jam one day for my wife, to give people for the holidays. And I'm like, you know what? That'll make an awesome mead. So the next day, got more pineapples, got more cranberries, and I made a pineapple cranberry mead. And it actually only made a 1-gallon batch of it because it was an experiment, but it turned out really good. And
Nice.
That's another thing that I'm really big on too, is I make a lot of 1-gallon batches. I know people see me posting pictures of the conicals and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I probably make more 1-gallon batches than anybody that I know, because I want to nail those recipes down. I mean, down before I spend that money and scale them up. I would say on average, I'll make it 5 times in a 1-gallon batch. And if I'm not happy, that's when I do my tweaks. That's when I get everything down. And then I'll scale it up. So if you see me put it in a big conical or I have making 5 or 10 gallons, you can rest assured that I've tried that recipe at least 5 times to nail down yeast, tannins adjustments, and the amount of oak I'm going to put in primary, the amount of oak I'm going to put in secondary, because I know a lot of people like to do acid adjustments on the end. It's not my thing, and kudos to the people who do it. But as a judge, I can taste it sometimes. I prefer to put all my additions in the front by using wine tannins, Opti White, Opti Red, oak. I just think it incorporates better on the front end, and it gives the mead a more robust taste on the palate from the fore to the mid to the back palate when you can adjust it the way that you want. And another reason I do those 1-gallon batches is I'll take that same honey and I'll use 3 different yeasts. And a lot of times I'll blend that traditional over three or 4 different yeast strains. Very rarely, if you have a traditional for me, did I ferment it with 1 yeast. It's usually blended.
Oh.
I find that you can target the palate. Better with a blended traditional than just one specific traditional. And that's just what I do. Not saying, either way, but I love to blend my traditionals. I'll take the same honey,
Manny's
same everything.
Be sorry he missed it.
We always talk about blending yeasts when Manny's not here, and that's his primary concern these days.
Well, keep it in mind when I say blending, I'm fermenting those meats to completion with that strain. I'm not introducing a strain on top of another strain.
Ah, okay.
To me, I've never been able to get the taste profile that I want it that way. So I'll take Orange Blossom and I'll hit it with Q823 I'll hit it. I'll hit it with a Unicorn and another Chardonnay yeast, and then I'll blend them together. And then I'll remember those percentages. Then when I fill it up, I'll make 5 gallons with each yeast to have enough to blend back together. So that's just the way I love to do my traditionals. I love to do my fruit meats like that too as well. So I love the blend stuff. It's a good way to be able to, target different sections of the palates because, different yeasts can do that. Different yeasts can do different things. And I know there's a lot of commercial people who, they have to know their yeast, and kudos to them. But you know what? I don't want to eat peanut butter and jelly every day. There's hundreds of different yeasts out there. I don't have to abide by those rules. Complacency kills me. I'm just going to get bored. So, kudos to people who can use 71B for everything. More power to you. You do a great job at it. But I probably used 37 different yeasts last year. Yeah, and my goal is to use 50 this year.
I like playing around. I mean, I just did this, the freezer mel that I'm working on. That was all the fruit from the freezer when we bought a new fridge. And I decided to go with 1388 Strong Belgian. And it's like, it's doing really well. I'm getting some interesting esters. I'm getting some great flavor profiles. I'm liking what I'm seeing with this yeast in this process that normally I would have used E47 for.
Yeah, and you don't know what you don't know. There's a lot of different flavor profiles out there that yeast can give you. And I'm a big advocate of using like clover or I love alfalfa. A lot of people don't like alfalfa, but I like it because I like those light honeys. Mm-hmm. Because when I'm trying to get a taste profile of a neutral of a yeast, I like to use something that is predictable, like alfalfa, orange blossom, because I know I'm going to get that. I know what those aromas are, and so I can pick up, what that yeast added to that equation. But hey, play around with yeast. Don't limit yourself. There's so many different varieties out there, and nobody is saying that you got to make 5 gallons of this either. Make a 1 gallon batch just to see what it tastes like. I'm a big fan.
Or better yet, bake a 5 gallon batch and then split it up and use 5 different yeasts so that you can tell exactly what the yeast contributes to this particular batch.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you a good baseline. There's a lot of times, when I'm doing recipes and I'm like, okay, well, this is missing a little something. I'm gonna use this yeast instead of this particular yeast. Which brings me to another point is, a lot of people, I wouldn't say it's common, but I love to blend honeys. It's just a great tool to have. I probably got 56 to 66 different varieties of honey in my garage. My wife made me move into the storage unit because she wanted to get to the back of the car, and that was half of the garage, so they're not in my garage anymore. But I love to blend honeys, and use small percentages of dark honeys like buckwheat or avocado or western buckwheat. I love using blends to bring out the flavors and melomels and stuff of that particular nature. So it works really good for me, and it's something that I love to do.
Yeah, typically, when I'm getting back to traditional, I use either clover or goldenrod, and I'll throw in 1 kilogram of buckwheat too, just to add in a little more something.
Yeah, it definitely give it a little bit more complexity. The same as Pete. I love that guy, but one of the things I've learned from Pete is introducing oak in the primary. There's very rarely a mead that I make where there's not oak in the primary and oak once I rack it. And I just love what it does to the mead. And people are going to X percentages and this, that, and the other. And you know what I'm going to tell them? Just play around with it because it's going to be different for everybody. My oak level is different than your oak level. What I like and what you like are two different things. But it's definitely something that you could play around with and put it in your toolkit. You know, I love medium toast French oak cubes. It's I rarely make a traditional mead to where I don't French oak in primary and then I finish it off with French oak. I have a pint right now. Once again, I fermented 3 different types of grapes with 3 different types of yeast. I have them all aging on American, Hungarian, and French oak. So each one of them is aging on a different type of oak. And it's amazing what the oak can do over a long period of time. It's almost like I use a crazy amount of oak when I'm going to age something for a long time. So, for example, I have 5 gallons of each of that. I probably have 8 ounces of oak medium toast, French, Hungarian, and American oak on each one of those. And they're going on 6 months now. When I first did those, you know, it was just oak all up in your face. But what I've learned, you know, there's just some magic that goes on, kind of like in the wine industry. Once you put it in the barrel, it's like, you know, it's the magic in the barrel. And, you know, once it gets past that, I don't know, that 6 month part, especially when you're using that much oak, it's just a taste and some magic that happens to that mead, and it's just magical. I wouldn't recommend doing that for traditional, but you know, those grapes that I use can take that oak. You know, it's just one of the things you just got to do. But it'd be a long time before I'm able to drink that mead, and I don't have a problem with that. You know, I think one of the things that people confuse these days is everybody wants to make a mead in 3 to 4 weeks. That's great. You can do that. But at the same time, you know, there's something magical about letting a good mead, keyword, a good mead age. You don't have to be in a rush all the time. Kudos to you. You get a cracker that you can do it in 3 to 4 weeks. But, you know, I just think there's something magical that happens when you let a mead age for a little bit. So it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I've actually, I over-oaked one batch, and it aged out really, really nicely for all that it tasted like Chateau plywood when I first pulled it off the oak.
Well,
but again,
we definitely don't want plywood mead, but I definitely encourage people to play around with it in primary and in secondary. I got to mention this for my buddy Bob while we got a minute. The New York City Fermentation Festival. Hey,
yes.
Go out there and support Mead. Make sure that you show up for that. If we do a good job this year, then invite Mead back next year. That's going to be February 24th. So make sure that you go out and support Mead and support Bob. And keep in mind that on I think it's this weekend on Saturday, those extra 200 entries for the Mazer Cup is opening.
On the 10th.
So for people who did not get into the first 500, you can get in on the second round of the Mazer Cup that's coming up here on February 10th. So, hey, the more the merrier. That's 700 entries. That's a great playground to test your skills. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's February 10th at noon Mountain Time, and that's a first that they're going to that level. So we're talking over 1,200 meads will be judged at the Mazer Cup this year, and that's
awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah. New York Fermentation Fest is